Did you know that extreme people can be scarier than ghosts? Have you heard of the Lion Rock murders that shocked China? A strange fire in the middle of the night. Dozens of lives all burned to death. Is there really a ghost? Back in 2006, there was a couple having dinner at the bottom of the Lion Rock. Suddenly the woman saw a fire on the hill. The sudden scene stunned the woman and her husband, who immediately stood up. The Taoist Temple on the mountain had turned into a sea of flames. The husband hurriedly beat a gong and drum and ran to the village shouting, "The Taoist Temple is on fire. Everyone come out to put out the fire." Hearing the shouts of the villagers swarmed out, carrying buckets of water and firefighting tools to run to the mountain together. At this time, the fire in the Taoist temple was fierce in the villagers and forest rangers to fight the fire in time finally extinguished. The weird thing is that during the whole firefighting process, there was no movement at all in the Taoist temple, and no one came out to open the door even when knocking on the door. Feeling strange, the villagers pushed open the door and went inside. But the scene inside instantly made people's scalps go numb. The Taoist temple was full of dead people. In their shock, the villagers hurriedly called the police, shouting, "There are so many dead officers. Please come quickly." The police arrived quickly and cordoned off the crime scene. All 6 Taoist priests in the Taoist temple were killed. For other visitors came to the temple for incense and fasting, killed together. Even the children were not spared. The scene was horrific. The murderer is extremely inhuman. Police came down the hill looking for witnesses. During the investigation, a villager provided a very important clue. Someone saw a middle-aged man carrying a long bundle climbing up the mountain. After investigation, the man's name is Qiu Xinghua, a native of Hong Kong, Shaanxi province. They quickly found his residence, but when they were preparing to arrest him, he had already fled to evade capture. According to the investigation, this person has been detained and punished for several thefts, and as a cunning person, the police issued a reward notice. In the course of his escape, he once robbed a railroad worker, but he didn't get much money. Unwilling to give up on this, he sneaks into a rich man's house. He was preparing to burglarize the house, but was discovered by the homeowner during the burglary, stabbed the owner of the house as well as the women and children inside. Afterwards, he fled again, and in the course of his flight, hiding, picking up trash, sleeping in bridge holes, and hiding from the police as a vagrant. After months on the run, the desperate Qiu Xinghua quietly sneaked back to his home. His wife failed to persuade him to turn himself in, and he beat her up. The police secretly watched Qiu Xinghua from the shadows and soon launched an arrest operation. During the arrest, he shouted, "Give me the cleaver, give me the cleaver." After his arrest, he started to feign madness and act foolishly. "I have a mental illness, and killing due to mental illness is not a crime." He also tried to use his supposed mental illness as an excuse to avoid legal punishment. In the end, he confessed to the details of the murders. It turned out that he needed money for family matters and had tried to borrow from all his friends and relatives, but was unsuccessful. When he was at his wit's end, he met a white-haired old man who told him about his family and claimed to be able to help him change his luck, so he believed him. The white-haired old man told him to go to the Lion Rock to find 2 stone tablets with whose name written on them, saying that they were his ancestors, and that enshrining them would bring good fortune. The next day, he went up the mountain and indeed found 2 unclaimed tombstones. The couple found a place to set up the tombstones for worship and would go there every few days to kneel and pray. Before the incident, Qiu Xinghua, hoping to expedite his change of fortune, went back up the mountain to kneel and pray, only to discover that the tombstones were gone. After some searching, he found the 2 stone tablets, which had been taken as stepping stones by the Taoist priests on the mountain, and instantly felt that his luck had been trampled under his feet. He was so enraged that he ran to the Taoist priest and scolded him angrily. The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't swallow his anger. That night, he secretly entered the Taoist Temple with a weapon, hid in the shadows, and killed anyone he saw. He went mad and chopped even the chickens and dogs, until he killed all the Taoist priests in the Taoist Temple. Looking at the corpses scattered everywhere, he not only felt no fear but actually felt a sense of relief and satisfaction. Convicted in October 2006 and sentenced to death for the crimes of intentional homicide and robbery.